Welcome back to The Explainer. Look, we all know the absolute nightmare scenario that is identity theft. If you're a focused learner looking for direct, no-nonsense intel on how to protect your digital life, you are in exactly the right place. Because when your identity gets compromised, panic is the natural response, right? But it is definitely not the productive one. Today, we're going to replace that panic with a highly structured, step-by-step crisis management plan. Let's get right into it. Discovering your identity has been stolen is, frankly, terrifying. It feels incredibly invasive. It's a real gut punch. But as the source material makes absolutely crystal clear, you are not helpless. By acting quickly and hitting the right sequence of steps, you can immediately cap the damage and start your recovery. So consider this explainer your level-headed, definitive survival guide. Here is our 4-step game plan for today. First, we stop the bleeding. Second, we lock down your credit. Third, we make the official reports. And finally, we dispute, monitor, and protect. It's a finite, manageable process. Starting right off with Phase 1, stop the bleeding. This is all about immediate triage with your financial institutions to halt the damage dead in its tracks. If you spot unauthorized charges, your very first move is a phone call. Not a web form, not a frantic email, a phone call. So grab your card, flip it over, and call the number printed right there on the back. When you get a human on the line, you're going to do 3 specific things. You need to itemize exactly which transactions are fraudulent, state incredibly clearly that you are disputing those charges, and request a total replacement for your card and, if necessary, your account number. This is step 0. Now, depending on what type of card was compromised, your liability under federal law is wildly different. For credit cards, your maximum liability for fraudulent charges is legally capped at $50. And honestly, most issuers will just waive that entirely if you report it fast. But think about debit cards for a second. With debit, the clock starts ticking immediately. If you report it within 2 business days, you're on the hook for $50. If you wait between 2 and 60 days, boom, up to $500. And after 60 days, unlimited liability. You could literally lose every single penny in that checking account. That terrifying ticking clock scenario is exactly why credit cards are generally just so much safer for your day-to-day purchases. Once you've handled that immediate triage with your bank, we move right into Phase 2. Lock down your credit. This is where we deploy the defensive shields. Okay, the absolute strongest protection against new account fraud is a credit freeze. Sometimes you'll hear it called a security freeze. A credit freeze puts a hard, heavy padlock on your credit file at the 3 major bureaus. When it's frozen, no new lender can pull your report. And if a lender can't check your credit, well, they simply won't open a new account in your name. It stops criminals cold. Best of all, it's completely free to place and free to lift. Now, contrast that heavy padlock with our next tool, which is a fraud alert. This is essentially a notice on your file telling lenders, hey, take some extra verification steps before opening anything. It's definitely less restrictive. Your credit is still technically accessible, but lenders are warned to be hyper-cautious. So think of a fraud alert as a bright yellow caution tape, whereas the freeze is that heavy steel vault. Also, a quick perk of the alert, placing it at just 1 bureau automatically notifies the other 2. But because the credit freeze is that much heavier protection, the bureaus actually make you set it up with them individually. So you're going to need to hit all 3, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can knock this out easily on their official websites or by phone, but you absolutely must contact each one separately to make sure your file is completely locked down across the whole financial system. There is one absolutely crucial number I need you to remember here, and it's 10 minutes. Setting up a fully free credit freeze takes about 10 minutes per bureau. That's it. Look, even if you haven't been a victim of fraud yet, doing this proactively is the single most effective move you can make for your digital security. You can just temporarily lift it on your phone whenever you actually need to apply for a loan or a new card. It's 10 minutes today that could easily save you months of absolute agony later. All right, Phase 3, make the official reports. Time to bring in the authorities and generate the vital paper trail. Your very first stop here is the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. They have this amazing official government hub set up at identitytheft.gov. You spend about 10 to 15 minutes filling out their free online forms, and it generates 2 massive things for you. First, a personalized step-by-step recovery plan, and second, your official identity theft report. That piece of paper is your golden ticket. It is the exact legal document you're going to use to prove to every bank and bureau that you are, in fact, the victim of a crime. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, do I need to call the actual cops? Well, a local police report isn't always mandatory for just, routine card fraud, but you absolutely should file one if the theft is massive, if a criminal has actually been arrested using your identity, or if you're dealing with really stubborn creditors who explicitly demand a police report to remove those fake accounts. Oh, and if you do go down to the precinct, make sure you bring that FTC identity theft report right along with you as your primary evidence. Which brings us to our fourth and final phase: dispute, monitor, and protect. We're shifting out of that defensive crisis mode and into proactive, long-term recovery. So how do we actually force these errors off your record? Step 1, write to every single creditor and credit bureau directly. Include copies of those FTC and police reports we just talked about. Step 2, formally request in writing that the fraudulent accounts be completely closed and wiped from your credit report. By law, they have to investigate and remove these errors. And step 3, you gotta be meticulous. Keep detailed logs of every single phone call. Write down the date, the time, the rep's name, and save copies of every piece of mail you send or receive. Treat it like a second job. Once those immediate fires are finally put out, you really have to maintain that vigilance. For the next 12 months at least, watch your credit reports like a hawk. Jump into your banking apps and turn on all those free account alerts for larger weird transactions. And seriously, I know I sound like a broken record, but if you haven't placed that credit freeze yet, go do it right now. Unfrozen should not be your default state. Now, I have to mention this because it absolutely infuriates me. Right after your identity gets stolen, when you're feeling most vulnerable, you are probably going to be targeted by companies promising to instantly fix your credit or guaranteeing they can remove negative items if you just pay them a fee. Listen to me. These are almost always scams preying on your desperation. Legitimate credit repair just takes some time and effort. You can do every single thing we just outlined yourself for completely free. Paying these shady companies can actually make your entire situation so much worse. Don't fall for it. So we've covered the triage, the reports, the disputes, and the heavy defenses. The action plan is laid out for you. But I want to leave you with one final thought to really drive all this home. If a credit freeze is literally the most powerful tool you have, if it costs absolutely nothing, and if it only takes 10 minutes of your time, why is your credit still unfrozen right now? Seriously, don't wait for a crisis to blow up your life. Take control of your digital security today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. And hey, stay secure out there.